So hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending our webinar today for the VR/AR Association Portugal chapter. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, Diana, and coming to present us what Metapod can do. And thank you as well for all the members who made the webinar possible, and especially our colleagues on the backstage as well for making this reality. But also to the VR/AR leadership for also pushing for this topic within the Portugal ecosystem. I don't know if we should wait for other participants to also join in, or if we should go ahead and start with the presentation. Okay. Well then, thank you very much. So Diana, I believe you will make us a presentation for around 30 to 35 minutes, and we will then check into our social media channels to see the questions we have. We'll try to put one or two as well from my side. And best of luck. And Diana, the stage is yours, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to talk about 3D reality capture with you guys today. So I'll just start my presentation, and if there are any questions, you can always post them in the chat or on the social media, and happy to respond to them at the end. So again, we're going to talk about the 3D reality capture today and how it's transforming businesses already. And specifically, of course, we're going to look into VR and AR applications in that space as well. My name is Diana, and I work for Metapod. I'm an enterprise account manager there. And for those who don't know Metapod yet, we are a company founded in 2011, and we operate in more than 100 countries and have offices all around the globe in Asia, America, and Europe. And to date, we have created over 3 million digital twins of properties with over 1 billion views. You might have seen us recently in a lot of publications. We've been covered lately in Financial Times, in BBC, in Forbes, Vogue, CNN, you name it. We've gathered quite a lot of interest recently, especially due to the recent situation of COVID-19, which I'm going into a little bit more detail in a second. You can see we are working with quite a lot of customers already, or these customers are already working with photogrammetry and VR applications with us. They're all across any industry, really, beginning with Airbnb in travel and hospitality, but also retail, like Zara, for example, or Walmart, and of course, real estate, like Remax, etc. So it's really all across the board. Again, just to talk about a short agenda, we've already had a short introduction, and we're going to talk about a few use cases with photogrammetry and virtual tours. We're going to talk about promote use cases, training and documentation collaboration. And at the end, we're going to look into some applications in specific that are used for VR and AR users. And then we're going to end it with a Q&A. So I want to talk about the history of the media that is usually used. Of course, there's some sort of history here. So right now, virtual tours are actually the new standard in many industries and are quite the hottest thing on the market asset. So in the space of just 2 decades, visual marketing has taken the leap from quite poor quality static 2D photos through to as-is virtual tours that showcase the interior and exterior space in glorious detail. So it really gives you the whole control. So you can not only see it, but you can also control where you're walking and what you're seeing yourself or the person who's presenting it. I want to talk about briefly, first of all, I mean, of course, many of you already know this, but I just want to talk about photogrammetry to just cover it before I'm going to go into more detail into Metapod and its applications. But photogrammetry in general is a three-dimensional coordinate measuring technique that is used out of pictures of 2D photographs. Reality capture is a step forward. So reality capture is basically photogrammetry softwares that create a whole 3D model out of the photographs or the laser scans, whatever is used. In terms of how it works, again, it is a AI machine learning in our case. Of course, other companies are using other techniques. We have a technology called Cortex, and it's a combination of machine learning and AI that takes the 2D pictures and actually creates a whole 3D model out of it. There are different ways to capture it. I don't want to go into much detail here, but there are proper laser scanners that can do that. For example, Leica scanner. Or we have an on-camera, for example, a Proto camera, which is known as the gold standard for 3D reality capture. There's also the possibility to use a normal small 360 camera, or more recently, we've actually released the handheld, which is basically a smartphone capture. That means you can actually, everyone who has the application can take its iPhone and make such a model yourself. I actually want to show an example quickly of such a model. So this is a 3D model, as I was just talking about. Of course, you have different views you can look at. It's a proper dollhouse view, and you can walk inside, and you have full control where you're walking. That might be via a mouse click, or just with your normal, or with anything you really want. And you have more information that you can take from here. Might it be info points? We call them meta tags in our company, where you can include different information, such as a text, or you can also include a media, such as videos, links, etc., which is helpful for different use cases that I'm going to talk about later but you can also take measurements. Obviously, photogrammetry is all about measurements as well. So there is a possibility to take any measurements you want in such a model. The reason why I want to, that's like a very poor slide, but I think it's just a topic I want to touch on without really going into much detail. But I think what's important here is to think about why is it important now, and why is it really used more than ever. I think that the real reason here is that business as usual is not possible anymore. We all know it. We've all experienced it. It might be how we operate our business on a daily basis and how we collaborate, but it also might be how we are selling our products and our offering. So at the moment, the problem we really have is that there's no way we can go to a site, or it's very difficult because obviously of COVID-19 we have restrictions. Let's talk about, for example, real estate business. They have really taken a big hit. At the same time, there is a way, and we're all going through this digital transformation, and we all know we can go through this, for example, with 3D models. So there are different industries that are already working with these 3D reality capture, or so-called digital twins. It's anything from, of course, travel and hospitality. It might be real estate with renting apartments or selling. Places of interest, such as art galleries, for example, or museums, landmarks, of course, or just normal business listings, such as restaurants, etc. They all really have a use for such virtual tours and digital twins for different reasons. I think a good example actually is one of our customers, which is Concept Apartments. Concept Apartments has actually, since the COVID-19 outbreak actually, has let 45 apartments without even having one person visiting it from the period of April 1st to May 31st. They've also achieved much more views of the properties they were listing. So we've seen an increase of 5 times more interaction. And they've averaged over 2,500 unique virtual tour views in a 2-month period, which has a conversion rate of 75%, which is considerably bigger than normally. So for the promoting business, which is really, for example, for real estate mainly, but for many other retail industries as well, and I'm going to go into more detail in a second about this, is how can they win more properties, and how can they reduce physical viewings in a time like this, but also in the future going forward, as we all want to save costs and time, of course. Of course, it also open up the market to the global reach. So when until now we were only able to showcase, for example, properties, but might also be a store or different other examples locally, with photogrammetry and reality capture, we can now reach a global customer base as well. And of course, that is, again, as mentioned previously, just a huge amount of time saving. So we've actually gathered a few numbers that are very interesting to look at here right now. For example, in terms of real estate, 75% of home buyers are irritated by property profiles mispresenting the true state of a property. What that means is when you look at a picture of a property and it doesn't really look like the real life, many people get frustrated, and that's usually the case. So this obviously translates into other businesses as well. Many people are not happy what they see in real life after they've seen pictures. We've all experienced that before, that we've seen pictures, it doesn't look like the real life. Go there or see the product, it's not what it is. 60% of home buyers find it impossible to assess room size from an online listing. Again, this is something that translates into different businesses. It's very difficult to assess something online just through 2D pictures. Might it be the actual size of products or of interiors or other more details that we're looking at. Let's look at another use case, for example, 3D documentation. This is less about selling and more about how we work as a business. So at the moment, of course, due to COVID-19, this has been accelerated, but this is something that was already like this a few years ago, and is going to be even more like that in a few years from now. Ultimately, the goal is to reduce physical viewings anywhere where you are, and also to have a better alignment across different stakeholders that you're working in. So for example, if you have a construction site, there are different stakeholders. There's the owner of the property, there might be different workers, there might be the financing department, and so on, project managers. And a 3D model like this with real time and with real 3D capture can really make sure that people can collaborate on a project like this more easily together and have one source of truth for the entire property. Another interesting use case is actually training. We have worked, for example, with French Bee, which is a French airline, and they're using 3D models to train their stewardess, especially now that they can't actually go to the planes, or it's more difficult and there are restrictions, etc., etc. They found a way how they can do this remotely. So their employees now can just put on a VR goggle, basically, have a 3D model of the airplanes and be trained via that instead of going to the actual airplane. Of course, this is not only now relevant because of COVID-19, but it's also more cost efficient and it's very fast to train. It's very easy, and it has been a wonderful use case with them. Talking about travel and hospitality, we're working, for example, with companies like TUI, and also as here, very similar as real estate promoting. It's a way to really find more interaction with people who are interested in it. And we actually have a very nice quote here from one of the TUI employees who said, whilst marketing and accurate representation is hugely important for our business, digital twins also help with wayfinding, hotel management, and documentation. As a company, we are committed to embracing tech solutions which provide transparency and efficiency for our customers. So as you can see, of course, here again, you can look at different room classes more specifically. But also you can use it for internal documentation. You can collaborate with the colleagues. It's really used all across the board for the life cycle of a hotel. So in general, I think what we can say here is that virtual tours can reduce costs by having the possibility to not having to travel to a site. But we can also find a new way of selling. That means we can actually let our customers go into stores. We can have them see properties. We can present our products with a 3D model instead of going to the store or presenting it with boring pictures on a website. And additionally, you also have the benefit to, of course, having the possibility to integrate the information within the store in these info points that I've showed you earlier. One of the benefits, of course, of this is that the virtual tours allow an increased interaction with these customers. To sum it up, I think what we can say is these reality captures, 3D reality captures, are the best thing next to being there in person. So this is one of an interesting use case we had within the VR applications. So BNP Paribas is using 3D virtual tours to advertise and interact with their customers through goggles. So they can, in a sort of cubicle, they can interact with the customer, show them around, and have different impressions with different sound effects, etc. as well. And bear in mind that actually all of these previously mentioned examples, they can all really be used with VR if you want to. I mean, of course, the one thing is to look via a browser, but the next advanced thing is to use it via VR glasses, which makes the experience even more real. So this is actually also a very interesting case. I'm not gonna ask it, but I was going to ask it. Do you think this this room is real, or do you think it's staged? And I know you're gonna say now it's staged because I've already asked you that question. But this is one of the interesting applications that people have done with a digital twin, with combining 3D real capture and AR. So a company that we're working with, and I'm going to share this really quickly with you, is, for example, integrating virtual items into a real property. So as you can see here, this is a real property and a real room. However, the integrated items are not real. So they have used our SDK to get the furniture into this room to be able to to show this property with furniture, to be able to sell better. But then there are also companies who use this to showcase products that are actually not in production yet, but they still want to see how the interest is like. Another interesting use case is actually this one. It's actually a funny one. It's not only retail that is evolving, it's also TV. So what we've seen in the past is that news and how it's presented is changing as well. There's much more need to be more interactive than previously. So for example, here, somebody has actually made a virtual, let's say, museum of a Twitter library of Donald Trump. So they're using it as a sort of new media for news as well, to present different tweets of Donald Trump, for example. Another interesting point here is a study we did together with Google. So when it comes to searching for businesses, consumers using mapping products, products like digital twins and virtual tours, they like to use it 40% more. On average, 41% of these place searches result in an on-site visit, which is quite impressive if you think about how many people click on a normal Google link when they search for a certain business. So this is quite impressive. And business listings with photos and a virtual tour are 200% more likely to generate interest, which is also a great number to think about. This is actually a repetition of a slide I had before. I don't know why I have it here again. Again, I'm going to sum it up again. 3D capture, 3D reality capture is a great tool for many businesses in many industries. It's not only real estate. It might really be in any retail business, in any business that has to promote products, in any business where there's a lot of traveling involved to on-sites where you really want to reduce costs. And really also in applications where you would like your customer or the consumer to really have a real life experience instead of having a 3D model that is purely made on Unity or code. That's it so far. I think we can switch to Q&A and take it from there.
Thank you very much, Diana. I think it's quite impressive, the product that you showcase and what your company is doing. So as you stated in the beginning, you guys are experiencing massive growth. I mean, not only due to the pandemic effects, but actually because the statistics are just wow. So people are really using your product to help and promote spaces, basically. So physical locations. Can you just give us an insight of how many users are you getting monthly, for example? How big is this growth? And then another question would be, how are you also coping with this growth? Because I'm pretty sure then you would have growth pain when it comes to scaling a company. Yeah. And as you said, you now have offices, locations in many places. So how is this also going for you guys internally?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So yes, we've seen lots of growth before the COVID-19 situation. However, yes, it has accelerated the entire growth for sure. So at the moment, we have a 10x customer growth month by month. We've had more new customers within the last few months that were coming new into our business than the last 8 years or 9 years, which is quite insane if you think about. So we are way ahead of our schedule in any term, really. But we had to really find a way to work with it. Of course, it was an upside for us in a way that we knew we can now help businesses that are struggling and win more businesses through it. But at the same time, the issue then you have is more customers mean more support tickets and more people, you need help and so on and so on. And so we really had to work quite quickly to adjust in terms of automating many processes within our business internally as well, to make sure we can still help everyone as well as we did before. So, for example, we've looked into automations for support and chatbots and all these kind of things. But ultimately, I think the good thing is we've really set up our business already a while ago, maybe 6 to 12 months to growth. So we were prepared for it, luckily, and are able to cope with it.
And when it comes to your roadmap, can you give us a little bit of a scoop? So I know for a fact that you guys are also thinking about new application releases, maybe some few integrations that you could share with our audience.
Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest change in our business recently is opening up our SDKs and APIs, which basically means until last year we were actually a closed product, which means you get what we have. Right now, with the APIs and SDKs that we opened up, the exciting part now is that everyone can really make the product that he wants with the help with our technology. That means anything that you can think of that could use a digital twin or a virtual tour. Now you can use this to have all sorts of products, and we see a lot of growth in sort of partnerships where people make their own product out of it. And of course, we're always working on new developments. We're very focused on R&D in our company, and there are always new things coming up. And I don't want to go into too much detail here, but what you can think of Metapod, it's not only a visualization, it's becoming more and more a visual data point. So it's not only the visualizations of properties, it's much more becoming one point for all the data for spaces.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I've tried it myself in my phone to scan my living room, and I didn't manage to scan the full apartment. So there's a learning curve. I'm still trying to learn how to cope with the scannings, and I'm using an iPhone, not the gold standard camera like you mentioned. Could you let our audience know? I mean, how easy is to get one of these cameras? Can they contact you directly? Is this all online? Do you sell it on retail shoppings? I don't know. Is there any shop in Portugal that people can get it? And how about Android? Because a lot of people would, I would say, also have Androids perhaps, and they're interested to know if they could use this or not.
Yeah, great question. So first of all, again, as mentioned earlier, there are a few different ways to capture. The vision in general is we are opening it up more and more, which means that hopefully in a few months and a few years from now, you can use really any camera with it. At the moment, we have, let's say, a portfolio of cameras that you can use, depending on your needs, what you really want to have out of the 3D model. If you want to have a very detailed model with lots of data, and you want to maybe use the point clouds that are behind it, or a 3D mesh to work on a separate product, or work in a CAD program or Unity or whatever, you're much better served with a actual 3D capture camera like Pro 2 or a laser scanner like Leica scanners. However, if it's about the visualizations, it's quite easy now to scan with the small 360 cameras, or as you just said, of course, the smartphone capture, which is still evolving. We're in the beta right now, but it's growing quite fast. And hopefully the idea is actually that everyone really has a smartphone, can download the application and do it at home. It's very easy to use. You don't need any big training on it. And it's very, very user-friendly. So even if you were to use one of the professional cameras, it would take you maybe maximum half a day to learn how to take such a model. it's nothing that you can only do if you're a professional of digital twins or 3D reality capture. Everyone can do it. So it can be a 10 years old kid probably who would be able to do it with a little bit of trying out. So in terms of how you can get the camera, we use resellers, but we also, of course, sell directly through Metapod. So there's the option to buy cameras online, of course, through the website. You will still have direct contact with a local person. So usually we have, for all the countries, we have local speakers where people who can give you advice on which camera to buy, etc. But you can also, in theory, just buy through a reseller in the location that you are in. What you would need to think about is also that, of course, the more important point is actually not the camera, it's the software. So Metapod is a software as a service, which means it's a subscription model, basically, and all the processing is done on our side. So you do the scans, and you send it to your cloud account, and we process all this data within a few hours automatically through an AI. And then you have the ready-made product within a few hours.
Thank you, Diana. It's good that there is a light in the end of the tunnel for me to also continue to learn with your product. So that even a small kid can use it. So that's good to know. So we have a question actually coming from our audience, and they are asking, you showed a couple of statistics from the studies that you have done, namely that people are much more engaged into buying when they can see photorealistic or even the scanning of the place instead of just a picture where they cannot access or make a concrete facto in terms of the size of the room and the height and everything about that. Is this something that you also cooperate with any organization like you did with Google for the whole clicking? Are you very active into these studies? How do you do it? Do you go to the academy? Do you have a market research team inside your company? You told that you are also very strong in R&D, so perhaps this is their line of work.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, all of the above. So we do some of the studies ourselves, and we do this usually through use cases. So we approach our customers and work with them after they've already purchased our product, of course, and see what results they have. So if they're happy to provide us with these sort of data, we look into it, we look into what was the status before they used virtual tours and what is it now that they're using it. And then we look at the data and what has changed. That is one of the ways we take these statistics. However, we also have some of these numbers that are actually they have nothing to do with Metapod. These are just academic studies that prove the exact same thing, luckily, that we were able to prove with our customers about virtual tours, 3D reality capture, and so on and so on. So it is a mixture of outside sourced statistics. These are statistics of academic studies, and the third part would be these data that we can take from use cases with our existing customers.
And perhaps the good thing as well is that at least the American market is very, very competitive when it comes to this data collection. So they have portals that just recall Zillow, for example, where they heavily work on the statistics. So perhaps also getting some info from there. Another question we had was if you are collaborating with Vuforia, for example, and how are you using this technology within your product pipeline?
Sorry, which company?
Vuforia.
No, we're not currently. Not that I knew.
Okay, so you're not using the software development kit from PTC, for example, to do this development.
No.
Okay. So when it comes to, we talked about growth. We also talked about future roadmap. Something I noticed while doing some of the testing was that you're able to integrate now already with Google Street, or at least with Google Maps. and on the scanning that you're doing, you can you have a collection of spaces. So can you perhaps walk us through just the normal process? So I'm a company, I would like to experiment with your technology. I go to your website. What can I do? So perhaps just putting it really simply and plain out there.
Sure. So I think the first step really is when you look into our technology is you would obviously like to try it out before you buy it. So the easiest part would be to download our application on the App Store, which is Metapod Capture app, and then sign up for a free account on our website. So you can create one model with your smartphone on that account. We recently actually just started doing that, and that is because we just got out of with the smartphone capture, and obviously we want to incentivize people to try it out as much as possible. This would be the first step really, to just see how it works in general. If you're interested into the product, I would highly recommend going on our website and contact our sales team. They would then reach out, depending on which region you are. For example, if you're in Portugal, obviously, one of my colleagues would reach out to you that speaks Portuguese, and he would give you a brief, he would listen to your use case and see, what do you like to use it for, and then make recommendations based on that to see which camera would be good for you and which of the suspects would be good for you. And would you like to purchase a camera? You can just order online. It's very easy. You get it within a few days. Not a big drama at all. When you have a camera, it might be ours or a small 360 or whatever you want to use, you can then again connect with our system through the application. You make a scan, which would take you to different parts of the property. Depending on which camera you use, you need a certain distance between the different scan points. And then you would upload it with one click through your app to your cloud account, and have it basically ready within a few hours. You can then log into your account where you have an overview of all the models you've already made, where you can also make some changes, such as adding some meta tag, as I mentioned previously, for example, other changes. And you can create links where you can embed into, for example, your website, or that you can share with customers, colleagues, etc. So you can collaborate on that model together. In terms of Google Street View, that would also be something that you would do through your account. So you log into your account, and if you were to have some benefit of sharing it on Google Street View, you can actually do it with one click. So we have an integration with them, and you can then, instead of just walking through the streets, let's say if you go on Google Maps, you can walk into a business, for example, might it be a restaurant or a retail shop. You can walk inside as well. And of course, if you Google the business as well, and not only pictures will show up, you can also see the 3D model.
Thank you, Diana. And how about here in Portugal? Can you perhaps share some statistics? Do you have a lot of user base around here? Is this just starting? Do you see some growth? I don't know if you were able to get some of this info. I know this was not rehearsed, everyone, so this is just, I'm challenging just Diana with this info.
No, definitely. So interestingly enough, Portugal, together with Italy and Spain, is actually one of our fastest growing markets in Europe at the moment. They had kind of a late start, I would say, because UK was quite early with some sort of 3D reality capture, and so was Switzerland and Germany and France. And Spain was always a little bit behind and very slow. And actually, through since COVID-19, it has been growing so fast over there that we can't even be as quick as the demand as in Portugal, for example. What we've seen is, for example, for real estate, there are a lot of portals showing interest to have an integration, but also a lot of other businesses including hospitality, of course, and retail, that are just looking urgently to for a way how they continue their business, but also saw some sort of trigger to finally digitalize the business more, which was, again, maybe a little bit slower than, for example, in UK, especially for small businesses, not the big corporations, of course, which is the same as everywhere. So yes, definitely, I think Portugal, and again, Spain and Italy, interesting enough, is one of the the fastest growing markets right now for us within Europe.
Okay, that's very good to hear. I think we can definitely increase a little bit of our expectations of that scenario. From time to time, I also browse from real estate advertising, and it's very amazing how some of the announcements don't even have nothing. So just a description, no picture even. So hopefully we're coming into a world where you can even have a virtual tour of what people are trying to sell or to show to you. So that's good news.
Definitely.
And it's also good to know that we are a little bit ahead than our Spanish friends. So that's always a must as well. So when it comes to other questions, I'm trying to see here if we have any other questions on the chats. So the first ones came from YouTube. Just trying to check now if in the other platforms we do have other questions. Okay, it seems not. So I would say, Diana, any other point that you would think would be worthwhile mentioning? So I do recall that we're also recording this session, and that it will be broadcasted towards our VR/AR Association Portuguese chapter audience. So,
sure. Yes, of course. So, yeah, again, thank you very much for having me today. It was really great talking with you. And I think to sum it up, if any of you that is listening has any questions or wants a follow up, please message me at my email. You can see it below. I'm happy to point you to the right direction with a Metapod, to the right colleagues, depending on what you want to know and who you want to talk with. It might be just a very broad interest, or more specific interest in buying, whatever it is. Please contact me. I'm happy to help where I can.
And do we have any, so you said that usually you have like a local representation or speaker. Is this the case in Portugal as well? Is there any company that somehow we can also help to connect the dots here?
Yes, so we have we don't have a Portuguese, but we have my colleague actually is from Chile, and he speaks Portuguese.
Okay. Possibly Portuguese, Brazilian, yes. But it's fine. We understand everything. Yes.
No. So he might be able to help out. However, I can't go into much detail here, but I will share it with you later. We just signed a Portuguese reseller recently. I think it was 2 days ago.
Okay.
So as far as I know, I'm not responsible for the resellers, but as far as I know, they have an online presentation as well, a big one, so you can order locally as well. So whatever works best for you.
Once that's available to be broadcasted, we will let our interested associates to know. And so no pressure for now. I mean, it's quite recent, 2 days. That's nothing. So just beginning of this week. So I would say, wrapping it up, thank you very much, Diana, again. Awesome product. Best wishes on massive growth that you guys are having. And yeah, thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you for having me.